49ers have a couple of new Hall of Famers in the Eddie D Hall of Fame. Do these guys belong in Canton, though? That's a big question for me on today's episode. The latest injury report on a short week heading to Nashville. And 49ers, can they continue their streak as Road Warriors? Coming up on this edition of Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you at BD Peacock at Eric_Crocker. We will dip in a little bit, I think, to the mailbag on today's episode. 49ers fans feeling good after a big win last week, sitting pretty in the 6th seed right now as we await to see what happens on Tuesday Night Football coming up a little bit later. Croc, right? That's kind of fun. We got a little lunchtime edition. We didn't have the pod up early this morning. Apologies for that. Croc's traveling around the world. First thing I got to ask you, Croc, is do we have to be worried about you? You're staying extra nights in Las Vegas as you're flying around on your road trip to the West Coast. Is this like they put you up in a room because you're winning so much of the sports book, or do we have to call Gamblers Anonymous for Crocky right now?
Probably got to call Gambling Anonymous. No, I'm doing fine. Like I've been doing really small bets just to keep me really intrigued in the games, and I've done well. Considering I'm probably up, $400. So and it's just a bunch of little bets. So I've had to work extra hard, but it keeps you intrigued in the games. And I'm at the Westgate. They have this really nice setup where they have like these nice comfortable chairs, and you get to chill, and they just got the big screen, and they bring you the drinks, and yeah, it's awesome. It's been fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, stop in Vegas on your way, win the cost of your flight. So your flight is free coming back to California, right?
Right.
It's a good plan.
Right.
Got a couple of new Hall of Famers for those San Francisco 49ers in the Eddie DeBartolo Jr. Hall of Fame, John Taylor and Patrick Willis. Let's start with John Lynch. He said, solid W today, talking Sunday about the win against the Atlanta Falcons. Proud of our team. Short week on to Tennessee. So cool today to see two 49ers legends, John Taylor and Patrick Willis, inducted into the Edward J. DeBartolo 49ers Hall of Fame. Congrats, JT and Patrick, on the well-deserved honor. Definitely well-deserved there. Nice to see some old-timers, I guess. Now it makes me feel really old thinking about John Taylor as an old-timer. He was one of the OG 49ers I remember growing up watching, and it was so fun to watch him run after the catch, and he was such a unique player, the way he was built and the way he was used, and his catch-and-run ability for the 49ers. I want to talk about John Taylor's comp. I've heard a lot recently of 49ers fans who remember watching John Taylor talk about how Deebo Samuel, his most close comparison in NFL history, might be former 49er and now 49er Hall of Famer John Taylor. What do you think about that comp, Deebo and John Taylor?
The most I remember about John Taylor is playing with him on video games. So I don't remember actually just watching him. Obviously, I've seen the highlights, I've seen the clips, and he seemed like a big play guy. Looked like he had some speed, some rapid catchability. So obviously their body types look extremely different, but maybe the way they play is a little bit more similar, and that's what people are alluding to.
Yeah, he was a little bit more long-legged, but he had that big butt, that thick, power, explosive rear end, right? And I know in the scouting community, Croc, you guys talk about that a lot. The what do they call it? The powerhouse, the bubble back there, and it helps.
Chris Sims is obsessed with it. He says if you have ass and thighs or something like that, you're a good athlete. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to have that powerhouse from the bottom. And yeah, there was that game where he had 290-yard catch and run, taking slants to the house, and so I could see why there would be some comparisons to Deebo Samuel. Now, John Taylor was a really good return man. He wasn't used like a running back, though, like we're seeing from Deebo Samuel, who's had more carries than receptions over the course of the last month and a half now, which is pretty remarkable. But yeah, it's fun to see a guy.
I was pretty surprised to see how much Jerry Rice was used in the run game with those end arounds and reverses and things like that. I mean, he could have a highlight tape alone just on his carries for big gains and touchdowns. It was really surprising to kind of see that a lot. So I'm thinking giving the ball to a receiver kind of started with, not saying it started with Deebo Samuel, but the Percy Harvin types and guys like that.
Mhm.
But no, it started back in the 80s and 90s with Jerry Rice doing it a ton.
Yeah, and a lot of the league back then was doing like run and shoot stuff, and Dan Marino and Jim Kelly and John Elway, and dropping back 5-7 step drops and chucking it down the field, low percentage throws, and then heavy on the running game. And the 49ers and Bill Walsh came out with this West Coast offense, and it was like catch and run stuff, slants, use these athletes, and yeah, tons of ins arounds for Jerry Rice. He had a lot of carries in his career. I think Percy Harvin actually is the best comp for Deebo Samuel. I don't think we've seen somebody as good at wide receiver with the ball in his hands since Percy Harvin with Deebo. And I think that's a really good comp for him. And at some point, I think like in the playoffs, you might have to see Deebo back returning kicks and punts because, field position makes some big plays because he's your big play guy. And once you're in the playoffs, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Use him as much as possible. My other note here on the 49ers Hall of Fame is Patrick Willis. And this one's a little bit more difficult, but Patrick Willis, I'm sure for you and I, it seems easier. He was the best at his position in the NFL for a time. It was basically, it was Ray Lewis, then it was Patrick Willis as the best linebacker in the NFL, best middle linebacker in the NFL. And to me, we lost Crocky. He'll be back in a second. To me, Patrick Willis deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think he'll get hurt because a lack of longevity, because he retired early after 10 seasons. But I almost give him credit for that. I love when a player knows when it's time to hang it up. And when he retired, Croc, welcome back. When Patrick Willis retired, I loved what he said. He said, I wowed people with my athleticism. I didn't want to go out there and just collect stats and not wow people anymore. And he beat up his body the way he played. He was so fun to watch, but he was the best at his position for an extended period of time in the NFL. To me, Patrick Willis is a Hall of Famer, deserves not only to be in the 49ers Hall of Fame, but in Canton as well. Do you agree, Croc?
No, I definitely agree. I think the name that comes up a lot around the same time period as him is Luke Kuechly. And for whatever reason, Luke, who didn't play this super long career either, he's just like for sure first ballot Hall of Famer in everybody's eyes. And my question is always like, well, what about Patrick Willis, who, in his first 6 years, he was like all pro like 6 times and like 5-time all pro in that time. I mean, he was dominant. He was dominant as a middle linebacker. And really, a lot of it has to do with impact, your impact on the NFL, your impact on the league. He was a big part and a leader in the 49ers going to 3 straight NFC championship games and the Super Bowl. So I definitely think he's someone who, without a doubt, should be in the Hall of Fame, but they might make him wait. You look at guys like Terrell Davis, another one who had kind of a short stint. And even in his career, definitely he didn't have as many highs for an extended period of time as a guy like Patrick Willis, but that might be, kind of the model that they follow with guys that didn't really play a whole lot of games or a whole lot of years. Make them wait some years and then eventually get them in. But Willis definitely should be in, especially if Luke Kuechly, who I assume he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he is, then Willis should be as well.
Yeah, and it's not to take away from Kuechly. He deserves to be in as well, but that was the lineage. It was Ray Lewis was the best inside linebacker in the league. He passed it off to Patrick Willis, who became the best middle linebacker in the league, and Willis passed it off to Luke Kuechly, who became the best middle linebacker in the league. So they're all Hall of Famers in my mind, and they should absolutely get in. And Patrick Willis, a heck of a nice guy as well. I was a bartender downtown in San Francisco, and I would see a lot of athletes come in and a lot of folks coming in from in and out of town. A lot of teams, like away teams, would come eat at our restaurant, and because it was right by the hotels and stuff by Powell Street downtown. And Patrick Willis, one of the nicest players I ever met, and had a lot of good encounters with a lot of athletes that were cool. He did send his burger. We used to have this really awesome burger, super nice burger, big. He ordered it well done and then sent it back to the kitchen because it wasn't well done enough. That's about the only bad thing I can say about Patrick Willis. Not that he sent it back, but that he eats his burgers well done. You got to go medium rare, Pat. But super nice guy. He was awesome. He was a pleasure to talk to. We've talked to him a couple other times. So great dude and deserves all the accolades he gets. All right. So next, we got to talk about the injury report. Short turnaround. I mean, it's hard to get healthy and heal up before a Thursday night game on the road. What does it look like for the 49ers midweek here or early in the week as we get close to midweek when the Niners have to get on a plane and go to Nashville? Then we'll open up the mailbag a little bit. Got some questions about the Niners heading into week 16 next. But I want to let the folks out there know about our friends at Boost Mobile. You want some free stuff? You want a free phone? Well, you can get one by signing up at Boost Mobile. Samsung Galaxy 5G. You listen to podcasts for the power of knowledge. You switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money, because with Boost, you get the power of a free 5G phone. A Samsung Galaxy A32 5G when you switch to one of America's largest 5G networks. The power of 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line, so your family can harness all that brain power too. With all the money you'll save and all that knowledge you'll gain, just how powerful will you become? Switch to Boost Mobile and find out. More power to save. Boost Mobile. Free phone limited to new customers and 1 per line. Additional restrictions apply. Offers coverage not available everywhere or for all phones and networks. See boostmobile.com for details. Super Bowl 56, Crocky. The 49ers' chances of being there seem to be gaining by the week, and my confidence in that team gaining by the week. We're less than 2 months away now from Super Bowl 56 at SoFi, just right down the road in Los Angeles. And On Location, the official hospitality partner of the NFL, is the only place to score a once-in-a-lifetime Super Bowl ticket and experience package. Select your exact seats and choose from elite experiences featuring an exclusive pregame celebration with NFL legends, 5-star LA hotels, and food by the great Wolfgang Puck. Visit onlocationexp.com/SB56 for more information, or just search Super Bowl On Location. That's onlocationexp.com/SB56, or search Super Bowl On Location. All right, Crocky. Let's check in on this injury report here with the 49ers as we get ready for Thursday night football. I'm pumped for a prime timer with these San Francisco 49ers at the Tennessee Titans.
Will it be on Fox as well as NFL Network?
It is going to be on, I believe, Amazon, right? Isn't it? Or is it only? It's only NFL Network, and next year the Thursday night. I don't know. I get confused about where games until about the time kickoff happens.
They've been having the broadcast going on both Fox and NFL Network. But last game, when I was watching the Thursday night game, it sounded like Troy Aikman was saying, "Hey man, it's been fun working with you, and basically we're not going to do this again." And I'm worried about it because I'll be actually in Modesto, California at that time, hanging out with the grandparents. My grandparents don't have NFL Network, but I want to catch the game live. So I'm like, hopefully they have it on Fox still. I'm not sure.
I don't think it is. I think it's only on NFL Network. And then there's a deal with Amazon where I think the Thursday nighters are going to be on Amazon next year, right? This is the last Thursday nighter of the season too. But that's a good question. Let us know at BD Peacock, at Eric_Crocker. Where do you even tune into this game? I'm always oblivious to those things until right about the time I got to turn on. I'm like, oh yeah, what channel is this game on? And it gets more difficult than it used to be finding those games. It used to be 2 channels, and that was it. Talanoa Hufanga came down with a sprained knee, Croc, last week. They're holding out hope, according to Kyle Shanahan, that he will be able to play Thursday. Jaquiski Tart, obviously the 49ers need one of those guys out there, right, to be starting strong safety for this team. Tart had that ankle sprain late in the game. He's day-to-day, but he did re-enter the game after getting hurt, which was a really good sign. So holding out hope for both of those guys Thursday. Bosa did clear concussion protocol. He'll be checked again later today in practice, but it's looking good for Bosa when he was held out for a few plays and then was brought back into the game. So it looked like.
Have we talked about that? The concussion protocol, kind of what they go through?
No, I want to hear more about that. Let's go through the rest of this really quick. It's a pretty short list, luckily, for the 49ers right now, aside from those guys who are on IR or not available. Emmanuel Mosley is a big one. The 49ers will definitely not have him back and may not have him back for the rest of the regular season. It's sounding good if the Niners do make the playoffs that they would have Mosley back. Basically, Kyle Shanahan said, quote, "We'd be fortunate to get him back by LA," which is week 18, the last regular season game. So maybe week 18, maybe the last regular season game, but hopefully playoffs for Emmanuel Mosley to be back at his cornerback position. Kyle Shanahan also holding out hope for Elijah Mitchell and Al Shire to be ready to go Thursday. They were both held out last week, and maybe that will allow them, with a little bit of an extra long week there, to be ready for Nashville and those Tennessee Titans. So more updates on the injury report later in the week. Croc, what is that like? Because there's two versions of it. There's the, okay, you're back home, the game's over the week after version, but there's the sideline version too. And it sounds like Bosa did pass both of those, but what do you even have to do when you get knocked in the head to get back in a football game?
So when you're at the facility, so like when they say someone is in concussion protocol, they're going through all the procedures of concussions and everything. But there's this test that you take in training camp or preseason or OTAs, whenever it was. And they throw at you a bunch of these different shapes and stuff. It's like all kind of shapes. And so you look at it, they just go through, they'll put up like, 15 different shapes and whatever colors and stuff. And then it starts over, and then they put up multiple options, and you have to pick and choose which one you saw. So you'll click, and then they'll go to the next slide. Then you click, and you can, and then it kind of spits out a certain score. So when you get concussed, they'll have you take that test, and if your score is way off, then they know something is wrong. So when I first was taking it, I thought they were like doing some they analyze you in all kinds of different ways in the NFL. So I'm thinking they're trying to figure out how smart I am. So I'm like taking notes, like, okay, taking quick notes. Okay, I saw that one. Okay, I saw that one. And I'm answering it, not even knowing exactly what it is that I'm doing. And it probably would have been really hard for me to pass concussion protocol because I basically cheated. And if I would have gotten a concussion and had to do that test again, there's no way I would have done as well on it. So that's just the way the Jets do it. I'd be interested to know if that's something they do league-wide.
Yeah, and those protocols change and get more difficult, I think, to pass every year, and they learn more about head injuries, and they're trying to make it more difficult for guys to cheat on those and sneak through and get onto the field if they do have a head injury going on. It used to be back in the day, it was like, where are you? And if you get that right, what day is it? And, if you say, I'm at Levi Stadium and it's Sunday, here's some smelling salts to get back out there.
Remember the commercial? I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
To the Batcave.
I did that in high school in baseball, and he got hit in the head by a pitch and was laying on the ground, and they asked him, where are you? And he said, Jack Murphy Stadium, when he was a Padres fan, and that's where the Padres play. And I think he was just kidding around, but they let him back in the game anyway. I don't think there was any way that back in those days that they were going to hold people out. And so it's pretty amazing how far that's come. And
have you ever been concussed?
I have, but it was so bad. I was hit by a car skateboarding a long time ago, and I woke up the next day in the hospital. So there was no protocol for me to get back on the skateboard that day. I wish I knew what happened. I don't know if somebody swerved and hit me, or if I was trying to cross the street or doing something stupid. Could have been all of the above. I have no idea. But yeah, I got knocked around pretty good. I think I broke my ankle. My wrist was jacked up. I got some stitches on my elbow too. So that was a gnarly one. Be careful, kids, and wear your helmet.
I'm pretty sure I've had 3. I think I've had maybe 4.
All football related?
All football related. One, when I was a freshman in high school, they did the little stupid drill where you lay on your backs and then you pop up and you hit somebody. Well, they had me go up with my guy, Joseph Turner. You know what I'm saying? This is my freshman year at Sunnyside High School in Fresno. Joseph just, boom, knocks me out, right? We're walking home, and we're all talking and joking and stuff. And they brought it up like, oh, I laid you out, Croc. And I was like, well, at least I didn't fall down. And they're like, you were down for like 5 minutes. What are you talking about? So I was like, okay, clearly was concussed there. And then another time I ran a slant route into linebackers. This is my freshman year again. Caught the ball, boom, my chin straps came unbuckled. And I just remember running down the sideline for another like 20 yards, and I don't even remember running. So definitely think I was concussed there. I got my bell rung pretty good. Another time in junior college, it was spring ball, and we weren't wearing any helmets or anything like that. My guy runs a slant. He catches it. I'm right there to break the ball up or try to, and he swings his elbow, and it catches me right in my eye socket. It broke my eye socket, and I was concussed. I was throwing up all over the place. I couldn't like lift my head up, couldn't see. I had to go to the hospital. I was trying to drive home, couldn't drive. And then one more time, my rookie year in the Arena Football League, I laid out to knock a ball away. I dove. You can see this on my highlights. I dove, and because I dove with my hands straight out, I landed flat, hit the ground, and my head just slammed against that hard turf. Boom! And I got up and I'm, celebrating or whatever. And I realized I am not okay. And I trotted off to the sideline like everything was good. I couldn't see. Everything was moving like stars everywhere. And I never told anybody. I'm pretty sure I was concussed. And that's dangerous because I went to college. I learned about second impact syndrome, and that can kill you. So yeah, it's a little dangerous out there.
Yeah, that's what's scary, and that's why you have to take it out of the team's hands and take it out of the players' hands in a lot of cases, because they'll, like Kyle Shanahan, not because of anything dubious, he wants Nick Bosa back out on the field, right? And DeMeco Ryans, and it's like, it's up to them. You're like, hey, you look all right. Go ahead and go back out there and play. And Nick Bosa, I'm sure, wants to go back and play, but he's got to have some other folks looking out for him first and making sure. And I don't think it was that bad of an injury for Nick Bosa. Obviously, he passed protocol on the sideline, passed protocol again back at the facility. So I don't think it was a major injury for him. But I was watching Monday Night Football last night and seeing, and look, the league's taking it seriously. They kicked Eric Kendricks out of the game when he went helmet to helmet on Justin Fields when he was sliding and giving himself up. And that's the scary one when you're not even protecting yourself and you get hit in the head. And the way Justin Fields fell down and laid on the field for a second, and then he jumped back up and ran back to the huddle, I thought they were going to yank him out of the game and say, no, hold on, you got hit in the head and you laid down there, and maybe he was playing it up and realized, oh, crap, I can't do this, or they're going to pull me out of the game. But they did. I don't know if he went through any concussion protocol or if there's anything back at the facility in Chicago there with Justin Fields. But, yeah, man, you got to take that stuff seriously, and it's hard because the teams and the players always want to get back out there and play, and these guys are tough, and you have to save them from themselves in some cases. So hopefully no remnants of that injury, and Nick Bosa is good to go Thursday and the rest of the season for the San Francisco 49ers. Croc and I will dip into the mailbag in just a moment. I want to let you guys know about Bet Online first, who have you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues to march toward the playoffs and college bowl season. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. By the way, Niners Road Warriors favored on the road again on a short week, which is an interesting one. Head over to the website if you want to get in on that action and bet on those 49ers in Tennessee. Updated mobile and desktop website at betonline.ag. Sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for this 2021 season and the 2022 season futures beyond. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. So do not wait. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's bring Crocky back into the mix here. All right, Crocky.
I apologize. I'm recording on one of my phones and it keeps ringing and it throws everything off. But
that's all right. That you didn't want to be around for that. That was a lot of me talking, and you would have just been sitting along on the side, looking pretty as you do. So, anyway, here we go. Speaking of Bet Online and those lines, Croc, 3.5. It's starting to creep. Actually, if you want to bet on Tennessee, bet it now because it looks like it's starting to creep a little bit back. Because it started out at the Niners favored by 4. Now the Niners favored by 3.5 on the road. Short week, Thursday night football. It's a little bit surprising because of the records of these two teams. The 49ers at 8-6 going to face a team that's 9-5 on the road, yet they're favored by 3.5. And what's interesting is the Niners have been really good on the road this year at 5-2. The Titans, though, have been good at home with a 5-2 record. Are you surprised? And that was one of the questions on the mailbag this week from Jarvis. He says, hello, gentlemen. Are you surprised the Niners are favored against Tennessee?
I think in theory, what the 49ers are, especially when they're on their game, they're a really good football team. So I'm not necessarily surprised, especially when you look at the Tennessee Titans. They've been hampered with injuries. I know when we did a crossover episode, they'll probably be talking about a lot of that. The health of A.J. Brown. It seems like he might be cleared to play, but we'll see. Julio Jones, I think he left last game early. There is no Chris Henry, and he's a big part of their run game and what they want to do. Tannehill hasn't been playing as well. So their defense has been kind of keeping them in games, but I could see where Vegas is looking at it and they're like, well, 49ers have the better team. Okay, they're on the road, but with the 49ers be, 7-point home favorites against Tennessee. That's the thing, and that's kind of where the spread is headed.
Right. Yeah, and that's the way that they've played recently. I'm not surprised, but I was just a little bit surprised. I thought this would be a game where the Niners would be close or maybe a pick 'em because they're on the road on a short week, and a lot of times that's a scheduled loss in the NFL. We saw one of the better teams in the NFL right now, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're even hotter than the 49ers are. They went to Los Angeles to face the Chargers on the road, a nice long trip on a short week, and they were tied, and it went into overtime for them to win that game. And the home team has a much better record in the NFL on Thursday nights than the away team. So I thought this was one where the Niners would be a sneaky team to bet on because of the short week, but that one scares me away just a little bit there. To your point, though, without Derrick Henry, and it's such a big deal for that offense. And look, no A.J. Brown, no Julio Jones. The offense is bad right now in Tennessee, which is a huge factor in this game because of all the guys we're missing. And we'll talk with on our crossover a little bit later this week with Tyler about that team and who looks like they'll be ready to go for that game on the Thursday morning pod, getting ready for the Thursday night football game and another crossover here on the network. So here's the offensive output in Tennessee before and after Derrick Henry's injury. With Henry, the Titans are scoring 28.4 points per game and averaging 377 yards per outing, and Tannehill has a 10-7 touchdown to interception ratio, 90.2 passer rating. He was sacked 24 times with Henry in the lineup for the first 8 games of the season. Without Henry, the Tennessee Titans average just 19.4 points per game, so almost 10 fewer points per game, and 78 fewer yards, 299.2 yards per game. And Tannehill has a 4 touchdown to 6 interception ratio and only a 74.9 quarterback rating. And he's been sacked 13 times in those 5 games without Henry. So, it's night and day without Henry. Then you add no weapons for him to throw to. His number one receiver right now is Anthony Ferkser, a tight end, and Westbrook Akini or something like that. Like at wide receiver. Like, it's not a great situation on offense for the Tennessee Titans, and the 49ers are, again, the second week in a row. I think it's lucky for them with the injuries at corner that they're not facing a team that's got dynamic weapons, unless Julio's ready to go, unless A.J. Brown's ready to go, and it doesn't seem to me that they are going to be this week.
Yeah, that can definitely change things and the 49ers approach. But even then, I think with how the 49ers play in the secondary, they match up well against those type of receivers. Not saying it's a favorable matchup for the 49ers. Definitely not. Especially, they go with Ambry Thomas. They go with Josh Norman. But I do think, having guys that aren't as quick and elusive at this point in Julio Jones' career, and obviously, A.J. Brown, he's more of a kind of plays a little bit more like Deebo Samuel. They have to win with more physicality. And I think the 49ers secondary, they'll take that as opposed to the quick guys that they have to try to match the speed with. And I know definitely 49ers struggle with those type of receivers. So not a favorable matchup for the 49ers, but I think it helps a little bit if you have Thomas and Norman out there.
Right, yeah, and being strong up the middle against a team that's their strength is going to be up the middle. And second week in a row, I think that definitely goes in the 49ers' favor. Here's one from Raymond on Twitter. He says, do you think we will let Arden Key walk next season, or is he worth keeping around? I think he has proven his worth and found the key, good one, Raymond, to success. Arden Key. I think Arden Key is a must sign for the 49ers because he's not going to cost you much. And when you can get somebody who can give you pressure as a pass rusher, that's gold. And really, Arden Key's sort of found his stride here with the 49ers. So I would assume he'd want to come back as well, and a nice little rotational piece. And you don't have to pay him starter edge money, which is important. If he gets starter edge money somewhere, then I don't think you can afford to keep him around, but I don't think he'll find that. So to me, it's a no-brainer. He's one of the first guys you sign in the offseason.
Well, that's what happened with Kerry Hyder, right? He had a career year. He had his 8 sacks. And it's like, yeah, we would love to bring him back as more of a rotationary guy. And Seahawks were like, no, we'll go out. We'll pay him some decent starter money for defensive end. So that is something that can potentially happen with Arden Key. And that's what you hope, right? When you come in on a 1-year contract, you hope that you play well enough to earn big money. And I'm pro players getting money. So, if Arden Key, ends up getting $10+ million a year somewhere because he had a, solid year with the San Francisco 49ers and show some versatility, being able to play outside and inside, I think that's a win for him, however it works out.
Speaking of free agency, what about J.C. Jackson? Billiam wants to know, J.C. Jackson is an unrestricted free agent this offseason. How can we get him to San Francisco? What do you think? Big money for a cornerback on the free agent market. J.C. Jackson's been pretty awesome for the New England Patriots and is probably in for a pretty big payday.
I think he's in for a big payday, and I think he'll get that big payday from the Patriots.
Yeah.
Now, the Patriots have been known to let guys go a year too soon as opposed to a year too late. So maybe they are thinking, hey, we've squeezed everything out of J.C. Jackson, and okay, he's solid, but we have good guys on the back end, so maybe they don't re-sign him. We'll see. What happens there, and they are a team that he definitely impacts a lot of games with his interceptions. He plays terrific man coverage. I love the way that J.C. Jackson is playing. We'll see how it happens. I think somebody that is a little bit more realistic, not J.C. Jackson, but maybe Dante Jackson from the Carolina Panthers. They just got, obviously, J.C. Horn. They have Keith Taylor from Washington. They have Stephon Gilmore. We'll see what happens with that. They traded for C.J. Henderson. So I don't think there's any room for a guy like Dante Johnson over there at the cornerback position. And he can kind of deal with some ups and downs a little bit, but he comes with big-time ability. He can play man. He can play off. He brings an intriguing skill set. He'll be someone who I'll be interested to see how much he makes on the open market.
Yeah, and Stephon Gilmore's another one. He's going to be a free agent, right? And they just traded for him, and things didn't go great after the trade deadline for the Panthers, mostly because of offense, not because of what's going on at corner. And they get J.C. Horn back. If they sign, I'm sure they're not going to sign both those guys if they sign either one with Gilmore and Jackson. So Gilmore's another one. He's a veteran player. Would he want to come play for a team that might be, a cornerback away from being, another Super Bowl favorite next season? So that's another interesting name. Depends on how much he gets and how long that contract is for Stephon Gilmore. And I just feel like, the Panthers are definitely a team to look at as far as free agent cornerbacks go. Or what if they want to re-sign, say, Stephon Gilmore, and then that leaves C.J. Henderson as the odd man out because Horn's coming back. Maybe you could do another trade and send another little something over, and C.J. Henderson could be on his third NFL team and be on the 49ers
Right.
at much lower dollar value. Or how about this? What if the Carolina Panthers want to pick up the phone and call about a quarterback that goes by the name of Jimmy W.
Jimmy W.
Maybe he could be part of that swap. Maybe get a corner in that and a draft pick on top of it.
Right now, again, sometimes especially with the 49ers, right, we get locked in on our players and some of their struggles. I would have to look in to see what exactly is going on with C.J. Henderson on the field as well as off the field, right? There's that aspect of it too. But I could see them letting someone walk because I do know they like Keith Taylor from Washington, the rookie. I do know they love J.C. Horn, and those guys are versatile. And we'll see what happens with the rest of the guys they have there in the secondary, but there will be some heads rolling in that situation. You can't retain all those guys. So, I'm very interested to see how that whole thing plays out. I would not be mad at a trade where you get a cornerback, especially if it's a young guy, as well as a draft pick for Jimmy W, who's playing extremely well. I saw something. He over the last 8 weeks or over the last 8 games, his quarterback rating over 100 all 8 times. The only quarterback in the NFL to do that.
Yeah, I got this note from Jeff Deeney. Let's end on this one from Pro Football Focus. So these are the grade splits out of 32 qualifying quarterbacks so far this season. Weeks 1 through 7, Jimmy Garoppolo's PFF grade was 56.8, which was tied for 28th out of 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. So bottom 4 of the 32 qualifying quarterbacks in PFF grade for the first half of the season, or the first 7 weeks of the season. Since then, weeks 8 through 15, Jimmy Garoppolo's PFF grade has been 86.5, which ranks first among 32 qualifying quarterbacks in PFF grade. So that's a pretty amazing turnaround from 28 out of 32 to number 1 out of 32. And that's the ball that Jimmy's playing right now. And he's going to be a valuable commodity if he keeps playing like this and looks good in the playoffs. He's going to be valuable for a team in the offseason. And so if a team like the Carolina Panthers or say the Steelers or the Saints or, whoever decide they want to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, but just talking about the Panthers because we already were with the cornerbacks. And look, it's going to be a pretty deep cornerback class in free agency, but man, the cap's going to jump and it's going to jump again in 2023. There's going to be a lot of money out there. Can the 49ers afford to pay big time free agent money to a position that is paid a high dollar amount. So that'll be a question. Could the trade market be a better place to go? And so for a team like the Panthers, let's say they're willing to trade a corner that you believe is starting caliber if you're the 49ers, and they say, we want Jimmy Garoppolo, but we're not willing to give you, let's say the Niners ask for their second round pick, which is going to be a top 10 pick at this point. And the Panthers say, no, we won't give you a 2, but we'll give you a 3 and blank, or something like that. So maybe that's a way the 49ers are able to get through this, and everyone feels good at the end of the day about what they give up and what they get back. So a lot to talk about when it comes to the offseason, but right now Jimmy Garoppolo is absolutely dealing, and hopefully that continues Thursday. By the way, thanks everybody for making us your first listen every day right here on Locked On 49ers. We got a Winky Wednesday coming up. We've got a crossover Thursday on Thursday morning before Thursday night football, 49ers at Titans. It's going to be a fun week. And then we got Christmas and all great things. I want to let everybody know about Locked On NFL Draft, co-hosted by my guy, Eric Crocker. I'm also co-hosting Locked On, or it's on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's called the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. We don't have the Locked On name in our pod title. That is found every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can also find shows like Locked On Bets, hosted by Q Myers with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. And it's just like our show, free and available on all platforms. Appreciate all of you. Make sure you hit subscribe on that YouTube or whatever platform you are using to catch this podcast, Croc and I, with Winky Wednesday. Back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.